Bernice, is your colleague coming?
I don't know. Why?
Okay, let's do the agenda. Does anybody have
Vicky?
any? Yes.
See, this is Sandra. I am going to have to leave at some point. I have another engagement. I'm not certain what time that is. They will come and grab me.
Okay, so we want to try and
Alright.
get as soon as we can into the things that we need you to vote on. So we'll try and
Okay.
maybe we'll move the minutes and the approval. Well, does anybody have any issue with moving the agenda around so we just jump right into the report? Okay, let's do that and then we can approve the agenda later. Or, alright, let's just, I'm moving to, to move the discussion of the report to the first thing and then let's approve the agenda. Have a second. Thank you. Am I allowed to move? Yeah, alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? All right, let's go right to the report. Are people at home able to see it? Or, I mean, who aren't here, who are doing remote?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're not seeing, they would see the version that was sent out last night, but they wouldn't see what the actual changes we're making now.
All right, so we may have to do some reading aloud to you. First, thanks everybody very, very, very much for your contributions. Someone else just joined?
Please announce yourself.
I think someone dropped off.
Okay.
Oh,
David.
Went down.
Sandra.
Okay. So if anybody does anybody have any comments, or should we just go page by page for a moment? Anybody have anything burning? All right, let's go page by page. Executive summary. Did anybody have any comment?
So, Vicki, this is Donna. Just one bit, and I mean, it doesn't. I mean, we can take it a little bit as it relates to the specific language where it references that the electric and natural gas will have an expanded role. And really, it's a clarification amendment because it's not an expanded role. It's we're already authorized to move forward with programs, but it does clarify enhanced coordination with DOEE, the DCSU. The DCSU advisory board ensures that should any programs be approved in the future, that they're not duplicative of the DCSU. So I'm not sure if expanded is the correct term.
Okay.
Where are you?
Line 5
Page 1, line 5.
or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
And
6.
do you have any specific language you want to substitute instead? Or just leave
Yeah,
it?
I can. I didn't think on it substantially, but I can just send it if it's not expanded.
Okay.
Okay.
So we may not have the exact language in front of us, but I'm going to assume, does anybody have an issue conceptually with what Donna just said so that we can ideally close out the report with this call today?
I don't know if expanded is the correct word, but I would really like to see what the substitute is because I think it's more than just a clarification. And it depends on what the new language is.
Yeah,
And so do we just indicate just that there is
new role. A new
a new
role.
role or legislation that is being considered by the council at this time prior to the SEU board voting that would address the involvement of the electric and gas utilities in implementing energy efficiency programs. And then the rest of the language just continues, something similar to that. I think that might work. That does not define whether it is expanded or whether this is just a clarification of an existing role, which did not necessarily include working with the entities delineated. So yes, that is better, that it is addressing legislation is pending that would address the role or address the involvement of the utilities.
So what I've written down, is it will not be known whether pending legislation could result in a new role for the district's electric and natural gas utilities in implementing energy efficiency and demand reduction programs with enhanced coordination between the utilities and other interested stakeholders. Or we could just cite who all is in the legislation.
Or
The SEU, the board, the DOEE, and
Or were you, Sandra and Donna, were you even going for a more generic phrase, for instance, will address, it not known whether it will address the role?
I was just trying to go with something generic, indicating that the council is currently considering an amendment to the Clean Energy DC legislation that would address the role of the electric national as well as the DCSU in the implementation of energy efficiency and demand reduction programs. And just note at the time that the board is considering this particular approval of the report, the council has not voted something to the effect that we haven't seen the final decision of the council, but just stating that they're taking an action that's more generic.
Yeah, will address the role.
So
Okay.
just put that
All right.
will address the role.
The
Okay, I
role.
would like to see the language, but that sounds like on the, basically the direction that I think is appropriate.
Yeah, not
Okay.
followed by the role.
Excellent, thank you all very much. Okay, and then I highlighted in green,
Next page.
yeah, sorry, page 2 now. So what I have done is where there are specific recommendations sprinkled throughout the text, I'm highlighting that for people so that the board is able to vote and make sure everyone's comfortable with what's being said here. So I said, I wrote, however, the board is questioning and expects it will continue to explore in FY 2019 whether the change to the contract that now requires that each dollar spent in the low-income arena produce a set amount of low-income savings that may permanently discourage the DCSE from maximizing low-income spending because of the challenges in finding the requisite degree of savings, which are measured annually. Does anyone have an issue with that language?
No, I don't, because it simply says that we will explore it. So it doesn't give a position one way or the other, and that suggests that it will be a topic of discussion during the board meeting.
Okay,
Unless there's something else that I'm not reading into that.
it's not intended as such, and maybe to soften it further, maybe instead of continue to explore, I will just say, we will just say explore.
That's fine.
Okay.
Fewer words.
Anyone else? Okay, moving to the bottom of page 2, was a question that maybe comes up more in the long term about the board questions whether greater savings might be achieved if savings were measured over a longer term. But the question, does anybody have an issue with that? Okay, hearing none.
I'm sorry, Vicki, on page 2, that paragraph regarding current NMR, and I'm going to throw this more so to Dr. Lawrence, and I'm not sure whether Dr. Alonk is there as well, but is there a way that we can engage in an MMR very quickly, because there's a reference here that the cost of first-year electricity savings as relates to PECO and Baltimore Gas, that the SDU, I'm assuming, was less than that of nearby PECO and Baltimore Gas. And we don't know the methodology that was utilized to do that, because we have actually run some numbers specifically looking at some of this, and we're not coming up to the same identical conclusions, and we're trying to finalize that because there are different programs that are implemented by the DCSU versus the programs that are being implemented in Maryland. So to start talking about actual cost savings with an apples-to-apples comparison is a difficult type of a proposition just in general. And that's just like, for example, we could state right now, if we look at the programs that are implemented by PEPCO in Maryland, our programs are achieving almost like over 3 times the energy savings achieved by the DCSU programs. But I really don't want to go down that particular pathway just in general, because are you truly doing a balanced comparison when you are comparing these programs? So I wanted to understand the methodology better and whether it's prudent to really go down that particular path, because there are so many distinctions between programs, how long a program may have been operating, how long PEPCO or BG&E or PECO may have been implementing programs versus the DCSDU, savings that are realized earlier on versus longer term, et cetera.
Donna, you wanted to say something before I respond?
Go ahead.
Donna, this is Lance. The cost of energy saved in the NMR report comparing PICO and the DCSU, it's a simple formula that's based on the total amount of spending by each of these respective programs versus the amount of energy savings that are reported by the programs. So if the SU, for example, spent $100 and they saved 10 kilowatts, then the cost of energy saved would be $10 per kilowatt. The figures came from public reports for PECO and I believe Baltimore Gas and Electric that were reported in terms of their total spending and the total savings. So it completely ignores the type of programs that are being run and all of the other factors. All it is simply looking at the number of dollars spent, the amount of energy savings that's resulted from those dollars that are being spent.
And when you said first year, what is first year that you're referencing?
Well, in terms of the SU, when we reference first year, keep in mind the SEU savings are measured year over year. So the first year specifically is referencing the first year of the SEU contract, this new multi-year contract.
Okay, can we take that offline with one of the representatives in our space just to have a quick conversation with you on that? I'm not going to go first here so we can move forward because we did do a comparison looking at EG&E as an example with the utility that was next to us because that was cited.
Okay. All right.
Lance, are you suggesting that this is in fact a close to apples comparison, which is what I hear Donna saying it is not?
It can be an apples-to-apples comparison if you're simply looking at spending by these programs and energy savings that are coming out, without getting into all of the other details and constraints surrounding each of the programs in the various jurisdictions. And it's pretty much done on a national level. If you look at ACEEE reports, that's the way they look at it across every jurisdiction. Total spending, total amount of energy saving coming out to give you that cost of energy saving.
I have a suggestion. Nina Dodge here, that we actually describe that explicitly in the paragraph, and leave it at that.
Yeah, or qualify that there isn't necessarily the methodological issues are not. The board isn't necessarily planning on at this moment to the methodological issues.
Well, we can explain what it is and that this is the method used by ACEEE, and then.
I think that rather than going into detail or explaining in this document what the differences between the methodologies, you can say, or we can say that the methodologies are different or may be different, but the national comparison is very similar and appropriate, something of that nature.
All right. How about in
and
footnote?
TEPCO and DOEE should discuss it offline and get back to us in terms of how these methodologies differ and whether they're measuring, what the similarities in the measurements are.
Okay. How about in footnote 7, if we say the general methodology employed is the same as ACEEE, was it
ACEEE.
ACEEE.
The national, use
Yeah.
the word national.
Yeah. Okay, so
the same as approved as used nationally or across the board by.
I would also just encourage the board to add a sentence about the current methodology used to measure savings. I think that's a missing piece of how specifically the year one savings are currently measured in comparison to how they might be measured over a longer term.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. And who was that, please?
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, this is Millie. So I think maybe before the sentence starting per NMR, it might be useful just to make a quick note about how savings are currently calculated so that it could sort of draw out the comparison with how they might be measured over a longer term.
Have we captured the first, sorry, Millie, Nina here, I'm just wondering, did we capture what we were just, before we go to your point, have we captured adequately our prior edit?
Nina, I put the footnote per VP's suggestion. Footnote 7, I put the general methodology employed is the same as that used nationally, just as a blanket statement to qualify it. But that's all I have.
And maybe it's right there, I mean, because it's talking about quantifying savings. Do we have a sentence to explain right there? You know, adding to the footnote how savings were quantified. Was anybody able to do that in this? I mean, and is that something that everyone agrees is needed?
Mhm. And I think Lance did articulate that, so I don't know whether you want to share that, Lance, to be included. And still yet, I just wanted our representatives just to speak with you, just to ensure a full understanding of the methodology and the relevance of a first year savings or cost to prepare as it relates to programs versus like what Millie's talking about, which is ongoing longer term type savings as well. So like making certain we put this in the appropriate context by even placing it there.
Sounds like we should separate the two then. Millie, do you have language?
Sure, I'm happy to just sort of take the methodology. I think it's just we're making a point about the tension between ways in which we can measure savings without providing context on how they're currently measured within DC's SEU. So I think just adding one sentence of context on how we currently do that methodology would be helpful, and I'm happy to provide that language.
So is what you're saying, Millie, that we haven't put the predicate sentence in there, which is that currently savings are measured on first year savings?
Yes, exactly.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, just the sentence says per NMR the cost of first year electricity savings was less than. So I'm just wondering if that also does explain it.
If you feel like that explains it, I'm fine with it. It's just sort of when reading through it, I was a little bit lost on sort of how the comparison brings out the point of how it's currently measured versus how it could be measured.
Okay, how about per NMR the cost of electricity savings parenthesis, which are measured in terms of first year savings. Does that help?
The cost of first year electricity savings, parentheses, which is the current methodology for measuring electricity saved, or something along those lines, I think would definitely solve it.
Current NMR methodology?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm reading it back. Per NMR, the cost of electricity savings, parens, which is the cost of first year electricity savings, parens, which is the current NMR methodology for measuring savings, end of paren, for the DCSEU, not a great grammatical structure, but was less than that of nearby Pepco Energy and Baltimore Gas and Electric, footnote 7, NMR report, page 1. NMR used the same methodology that is used by ACE nationally.
Vicki, you might, this is really, for those people who are new in the council reading this, when one says per NMR, it almost sounds like it's an equation. I would use...
According to...
Yes. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Got it.
Could you read it back one more time so I can just type it in?
Sure. I have, the second sentence would be, according to NMR.
Okay.
The cost of first year electricity savings for the DCSEU 2017 open parens, which is the current NMR methodology for measuring savings. Worry about where the parens go in a moment. Close parens, was less than that of nearby Pico Energy and Baltimore Gas and Electric, period, footnote 7. And then in footnote 7, NMR used the same methodology for measuring savings that is used by ACEEE nationally. And we'll worry about proper placement of parenthetical. And may the record reflect that Chairman Kane who joined us, and Kirsten is here in person. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Vicki, I hate to push this, but I think, so the sentence refers to the cost of first year electricity savings, which isn't the measure itself. I think the measure as it currently is that we quantify first year electrical savings, not necessarily the cost. My understanding is that the cost is kind of a side measure of our efficiency.
Okay, so NMR used the same methodology for measuring savings that is used by ACEEE nationally, and NMR measured first year savings.
Not NMR measured.
How about NMR evaluated?
How about another footnote of electricity savings? Yeah. And there we put.
Okay.
NMR has measured savings on a first year basis, or how do we say this?
Based on the cost of first year?
But not the cost. Savings are measured on a first year basis.
Just so we're clear, the first year simply refers to fiscal year 2017.
Right.
The term first year just references first year of this 5-year contract.
I thought first year meant light bulbs and what they get in the first year.
No. When we're talking about first year energy savings, it's the first year of energy savings for this contract.
Okay, I thought it was the same.
Okay. Do we ever use first year in the other sense? Meaning the first year that you see savings as opposed to over the long term?
Yeah, when we
Or short term?
for example, if you're calculating energy savings for a specific measure, and the measure has 10 years worth of saving, all your concern is how much would it save you in that first year and not the 10 years. That would be what we call the annual savings versus the lifetime saving.
Okay.
We look at things
So
on
here are we talking about annual or first year of the contract?
Annual.
This is the annual savings, which would be the first year of the contract.
Okay. We have two issues,
Mhm.
and we're conflating them. So I think we need to separate them. According to NMR, the cost of electricity savings in the first year of the contract,
The cost of?
right?
The cost of?
Cost of electricity savings in the first year of the contract. And
It says that right there in the previous sentence. The cost of first year of your savings, so we're repeating it again.
So let's say what budget is that?
Okay.
I think that's what's the cost of electricity savings in the first term?
Yes.
yeah, but it's CSEU, then take out the parenthetical.
Okay, so
Yeah. So it's less than that of nearby Pico, Energy, and Baltimore Gas and Electric. Okay, and then we can take out this last phrase.
this extra
No,
part.
no.
Oh,
Just this last phrase. And
Oh, okay.
NMR.
Is that the point, sorry? The cost of savings was less than?
Less.
Less
It was
than,
less
it was not
That's
as
the point.
expensive.
That's the good news. That goes not sure.
Okay. Good work, team. All right. Let's keep going. Next, green.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yes, just wanting to just note that, as I said, I wanted to speak with Lance again about that particular language and the adequacy of that particular comparison. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And let's
All right,
take
you
out footnote 7.
And Madam Chair, before we leave this page, can I ask just a clarifying question in the paragraph above the one that we just finished editing?
Mhm.
In the highlighted sentence there, it says the board has questioned, expects it will explore in FY19. Savings has inadvertently discouraged the DCSCU from maximizing low-income spending. The word maximizing is the one that I raise a question about. According to our contract, there is no maximum amount that we need to spend in the low-income community. There is a minimum threshold that we have to meet. But this goal has been structured somewhat differently than the other goals where there's a min and a max.
Achieving?
We achieved this paragraph here might leave one with the impression that we didn't achieve this particular benchmark, whereas we actually achieved it at the 100% level.
I think the word should be spend saving
So
because
increasing?
that's what Jared was talking about. I think he was talking about savings, not spending.
What
We
did you
mean
say?
impact, rather than trying to achieve savings, we're trying to achieve impact.
So that's the
We're having less impact because we have to have the savings.
good point, because that's really what the whole point is, isn't it?
It's not spending of that.
Right.
We
not a-
maximize our savings that we're required to maximize.
It's not a
But because we have
reward.
a savings goal, we are having less impact maybe.
Remember, the goal is bifurcated. There's two different steps. You have to spend at least 20% of your funds from the SETF,
Right.
and we did that. We spent more than 20%. And you have to achieve at least a set level of MMBTU savings from that spend. That's where in FY17, that amount of savings that we achieved,
Reductions, you mean?
reductions, was we did not hit the max in that category because there is a min and a max in that category. But on the spending side, you really, we hit the maximum amount that we needed to spend in order to fulfill at the 100% level this particular part of the
Right.
benchmark.
No, I
So
understand.
what's the
So I
language that you would recommend? How would you change that?
Sandra, what I'm trying to, I'm sorry, Madam People's Council, what I'm trying to draw out here is
That's fine.
what is the intent of the paragraph? What is it trying to articulate? I think there's a deeper thought
Yeah.
that it's trying to convey.
So
Is it impact?
it's the impact issue, yes, and whether or not the tie to finding or needing to find the savings discourages, I think, the spend, right?
No,
But it
No,
doesn't.
discourages
No.
what?
Maybe
Discourages-
maximizing low income impact, yeah, if you change spending.
Discourages certain projects, is what Jared is saying, right? It discourages certain projects which Jared feels should be funded.
With higher impact, potential
And I
impact?
would
Well, then I would say
be
that.
reluctant to speak on behalf of, a member who's not here at the moment.
Maximizing low income impact, that's the challenge.
I would definitely, it's,
But again, happy to wordsmith here, but again, this could leave one with the impression that we did not achieve the low income spend,
Right, that's not
which
the
is
intent.
which is inaccurate.
Well,
So
this is Adrian. I think it doesn't say that it very clearly says that you reached 100% of that. It says you even reached, the DCSU exceeded the spending target. But where it didn't meet the threshold in our approach was that the impact in the low income is not being
exceeded in that same way. So where you are spending the money in low income, the reach, which is I think why we have one of the programs at PSC right now with EE low income deep energy retrofit, is because those programs aren't being done. And those are where the benefit can be very far reaching for years. And so I think that's the crux of and I think we tried to determine and say, look, we understand that the programming changes weren't addressed, and so we understand why some of those savings targets we feel were not met and were only minimally met, not maximized. And you're saying maximize, we're not supposed to maximize that, but we want to have a more equal threshold when it comes to spending and saving. So I don't know what language we could put there, but it very clearly states that you exceeded that spending target.
Dr. Lawrence gave us a proposed substitute that I hope might do it, which is to say that the blah, blah, blah has inadvertently discouraged the DCSU from pursuing certain projects because of the challenges in finding the requisite degree of savings, which are measured annually.
Could you add high impact projects? Or potential.
What would the word high impact convey?
That's too much of
Yeah.
a.
Is it pursuing certain projects in the low income arena?
Right. So
That's a better way to put it.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence.
Yeah, I agree with that. Can we keep our language we have and add that in addition to what we have?
Yeah, we're keeping all of the language. All we're taking out are the words maximizing low income spending and replacing it with pursuing certain projects.
Maybe we can just say low income project.
Sandra, are you fine with that?
Sure.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Does that get an impact?
Yes, it could.
So
Because-
what would the new language read? It would be from pursuing.
From pursuing certain low income projects.
Shall we read the whole sentence slowly?
Yes.
However, the board has questioned and expects it will explore in FY 2019 whether the change to the DCSU contract that now requires that each dollar spent in the low-income arena produce a set amount of low-income savings has inadvertently discouraged the DCSU from pursuing certain low-income projects because of the challenges in finding the requisite degree of savings, which are measured annually.
That's okay.
If I were a new council member reading this, it would receiving this report. I'm afraid maybe it's my limitation, but it would be meaningless. Of course, it's going to preclude certain low-income projects. I mean, that any system would. I mean, I don't understand from that language what the worry is. I don't think it gets at impact or
Can we have a
reach.
cup of coffee after this? Wait, I'll tell you.
I understand that we're skirting around a contract that's performance-based, and that's very sensitive, and I really respect that. But I think we need to, if we're separating ourselves from the contract right here, I mean, if we're dealing with both contractual obligations and what we hope can go beyond the contract that won't penalize inadvertently, then then maybe we have a little bit more fixing, or we need to separate to two thoughts.
There are contractual obligations, and
So
then
they're
there are
doing low-income
the-
projects that would result in higher savings, something of that nature.
I don't think that's the issue here. It's not an issue of what will result in higher savings. Based on the background which led to this, the complaint was that the DCSU is not having the same impact in the low-income space, because previously they could have pursued certain projects that produces very low yield, low saving, but just did them because it was truly beneficial to low-income folks. For example, if you want to talk about going into a building and replacing windows, windows might look great on a building, improve the facade, but it produces very low energy savings. So when you're looking at these things, you need to understand what impact are you talking about and how that affected the DCSU. When we changed the mark to put in the strict saving requirements, they had to start targeting those measures that could actually produce high amount of savings. Hence the reason why certain projects were now being passed on because of the very low savings compared to the dollars that they have to spend on them.
How about has inadvertently diminished the potential impact in the low-income arena by just potentially or whatever, we'll figure it out. Discouraging something along those lines. It's wordy.
Inadvertently, well,
Lessened
contractly.
instead of
It's
diminished.
inadvertently, it's
It's not
the
inadvertently.
change in the benchmark has necessitated
Yeah,
our
Okay.
focused efforts on certain
different kinds
on
of
different
projects.
sorts of projects.
Different projects,
It's
yeah.
necessitated.
Has
It's not
necessitated
inadvertently, it's not, well,
a
you might
change
think it
in
was
focus
inadvertent, but the way I think,
Yeah.
sometimes where you stand depends on where you sit.
Sure.
I'm sitting
Right.
over here
That's-
saying we've got to hit a certain
Well,
number,
that's it, what the-
and so it has
has
necessitated us to move and shift our
has
program.
necessitated a shift in
In
the
program.
kinds of projects
Mhm.
carried out in the low income space.
Right.
Yeah, that gets it different.
Kind
I mean,
of
because it
project
wasn't
carried out.
inadvertent, it was necessity,
right.
it was purpose.
And it's the kind of project, you're not qualifying.
Right.
So people can read into it, whatever they want.
And whether or not this has had other inadvertent consequences
Right.
is something you can explore in 19.
So what's the new language?
All right.
We need some more of that.
It has the set amount of low income savings has necessitated a shift in focus on the kinds of projects
Carried out in the low
carried
income
out
space.
in the low income space, period.
Focus.
I don't know about that one. Has necessitated a change in focus?
Yes. On the kind, or has necessitated a shift in the, maybe not focus, has necessitated a shift in the kind of projects. In other words, you can't do the ones that were maybe easy to do but didn't have a really good.
And then leave it rest.
Yeah.
All right. We think it now reads. However, the board has questioned and expects it will explore in FY 2019 whether the change to the DCSU contract that now requires that each dollar spent in the low-income arena produce a set amount of low-income savings has necessitated a shift in the kind of project carried out in the low-income space by discouraging the DCSU from pursuing certain low-income projects because of the challenges in finding the requisite degree of savings, which are measured annually. All right, and just to simplify it, why don't we say requisite degree of annual savings?
Can you put another line in there that just says that the DCSGU will come back to the board with ways that they intend of overcoming this barrier? Because I think if you can put it out there, but how are you going to cure it?
I don't feel
That's
that
part
it's
of the
fair to say that
exploration.
it's a barrier.
Yeah.
We're not sure yet. I mean, if we're getting higher impact projects
I think
as a result,
I
then
think one of the
we're
things
saying
that,
the board
impact is two different things.
I think the point that's being made.
There's impact there's two different levels of impact. One is impact on the low-income residents, the amount of savings achieved in that space. There's another impact as well. Remember, in FY16, we were spending 30% of our budget in the low-income community. FY17 and beyond, we're spending 20% of our budget in the low-income. That is a $2 million delta that's been felt by a myriad of different stakeholders in the low-income community. And some of the impacts that you are hearing about and that the board has heard either directly or indirectly at this table or in other conversations are from stakeholders who were more accustomed to the first 5 years of the contract where spending was at a much higher dollar threshold, despite whatever the savings may have been.
we look at savings versus spending. And if you actually step back and at least, well, residential electricity is 15% lower. Figure maybe 30% of residential is low and moderate income, that's 5%. Now you're going to add in the multi-family buildings, which might double it. But still, entire low-income energy consumption is probably only 10% of all of the energy consumed by, at least by households, those kinds of things. So, to be even spending 20% on that is not something to say is negative.
So in terms of the comment about putting in what the SEU will do, I feel like this is the board's report on what the board
this is what
doing.
the board is doing.
And then later is for the SEU to tell us.
The board's going to explore.
It explores
Right. And the SEU may disagree, or the council, or DOE. Okay, let's go to, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
work, team. All right, let's go. Okay. Then this is the board questions whether greater savings might be achieved if savings were measured over a longer term. Does anybody have a problem with that? I think there was,
hang on, this is the,
I think we already discussed.
Top of page 3.
We're okay, but,
uh,
so we are inclusive.
questions whether,
What does that mean?
This is what we were just talking about with first year, longer term.
Because there's annual saving and there's lifetime saving.
And both
Which-
are measured.
Yeah, they're both measured, but I'm just trying to understand.
They are measured? I thought they
Yeah.
weren't. I
Yeah.
thought that was.
Both are measured.
On the 5-year contract.
Well, but
No,
beyond
but
that,
not lifetime of
we
the.
put in a measure, we can tell you how much it will save in your
Over-
budget, we can
over
tell you how much it
15
will save
years.
over the life of that measure. Both are reported.
hoping this.
Measured.
Reported, but there's no performance metric.
Not
that
a
goes
metric
along.
for performance benchmark.
It's not
Not
a performance
lifetime,
measure,
right.
but it's
But it's a
measured, but we do
measurement.
measure.
Yeah.
Rewarded.
It's
Correct.
Is
It's
what
not
we
rewarded,
need.
but
Yeah.
Well, it's worded in the societal cost center, because it's counted as part of it.
But so is the issue, the board questions whether greater savings might be achieved if savings were, rewarded. Is, the idea. Which is
Yeah,
great.
rather than measured.
Yeah.
Is that okay? And you may disagree.
it's,
It's a question.
Yeah.
it's a question.
Yeah.
It's fine, it's,
Okay.
you know, you can raise any questions, but you questions.
Okay, cool.
But I just wanted to make sure, because they are already
Yeah.
measured.
Right. No, I'm
Question
sorry.
is,
It was
they're
the
not rewarded though.
performance benchmark issue. Yes. Okay. Let's go down to section 4. 2. Okay, we're at 2. So we added in board math 12 times. And then there was a lot of new language in there. I don't know if anybody had any additions, or I had questions in here. Did anybody have anything else about board activities? That we can take.
Sorry, Vicki, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Donna. There was a second paragraph on page 3 that talks about the board notes a tension between the SEU's achievements and the district's evolving objectives. And I just question whether it's the actual tension, because ultimately the district has always had a focus as it relates to climate change as well as reducing energy usage and consumption. We can look at the history of legislation and laws that have been adopted, passed, also the focus of the commission in this respective area. But what you're having are enhancements or more progressive targets in this respective area. So I wouldn't qualify it as being an actual tension.
No,
You're
that's
having
fair.
an evolution. I'm sorry?
No, very fair. Thank you. I would, maybe is it more accurate to say a lack of alignment?
So really, it's just the fact that you're having an evolution as relates to targets as well as priorities, and basically that the goals of the SEU likely should be aligned or reevaluated to be in alignment with those particular changes.
If we put this in the present, not in a continuum, if we say the board notes that there is an increasing need to align,
Yeah.
in other words, sort of put it in.
That's right. I like that. Yeah.
Great. Great. The DCU's achievements. This is great. Thank you. Thanks all. That's good. Okay. Okay, then, this, no, I think it was, we didn't necessarily get that green one right there. The board questions whether metrics which were converted from numeric benchmarks to items to be tracked should be converted back again. This was having to do with reduction in peak demand. Yeah, anyone have an issue?
Yeah, I've got my new council, never seen this before, barometer on again. Could we explain what that means in English? It's not self-explanatory.
Yeah, does that, we'll do that. I mean, is that something that we need to do as a group, or will people be comfortable seeing another draft? But we're gonna still try and vote today, and we'll put it just, it'll be explanatory as opposed to
This jargon that's really
subjective. Okay,
That comment could be put in a footnote.
right, exactly. Okay, anything else for board activities? In section 2. Okay, in section 2, I couldn't remember, did we make suggested changes to the contract which we then see in section 3 in FY 2017? Or the things that are all listed in this item 3? Did we do that?
Well, the board made one recommendation to the 17th contract, which was the savings target for low income. That was a board recommendation. And also the leveraging, I believe.
Remember those prior to the start.
In particular, because we did this one for some modifications.
Right, that was what we recommended. So, so if we did that all in 2016 for the next contract, so we'll take out the first bullet. Okay. Okay. No. I can't see. Thank you. Okay, section 4. So, let's take out that. Okay. Okay. Does anybody have anything else before section 4? Okay, section 4. Folks, come on, we gotta get through this, please. Okay, keep going, down to where we have a question. I'm sorry.
Fourth paragraph, let's see, 1, 2, it's on page 6. The verified results.
We're not there yet.
That's section
Okay,
5.
we're now here where the green is. So this was talking about this PSC order, urging, directing, encouraging, scheduling, improved cooperation and collaboration between PEPCO and the DCSEU.
I'm
Yes,
not sure.
Sandra.
I
have
Sandra.
for that.
I was going to say that introductory phrase the board learned only recently, first of all, makes it look pretty silly, and secondly, it makes it look like it was a secret. I mean, that order was done in 2017, in July of 2017. I'm sure that at meetings I'm sure Sandra knew about it, I'm sure Donna knew about it, I know I knew about it, and I'm sure it was discussed that was a rate case.
But as a whole, I don't think.
My recommendation was.
I would just say the board is aware of, or something. I mean, learned only recently sounds like.
Yeah.
My recommendation for that was that this states that it PSC order 18846, the PSC urge and direction.
In the order, just state
Okay.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, just as a side, if there is an issue with briefing on new orders and so on, that's something the board should bake into its agenda, and maybe as a regular item.
Sure. So I think that is something that maybe we should go back up to what the board. Let's go back up to the.
I think it should be a lot
You
more.
know, this is Sandra. I don't know if we need to characterize the commission's order what says urge, directed, encouraged, or scheduled, just cite the order and, made certain recommendations with respect to PEPCO and the DCSCU, and then continue with the language the board requests that PEPCO and the DCSCU inform it as to the status of the implementation of the commission's order, the outcomes, blah, blah, blah,
I
blah.
think it's stronger than recommendations though, because there were some
Directed.
directions.
They
So
were
how about
directed.
PSC order number 18846 addressed?
Or
Well, directed.
directed.
But not always, I mean, because sometimes it was encouraged,
Well,
sometimes
they
it
were
was
orders, directed.
encouraged.
They were directed. They were
Encouraged.
directives. It
One-
was specifically on the direct load control thermostat program.
Right, I'm saying, but there's
And
a
on
combination.
and on load forecasting. But they were directed to PEPCO.
On those things that.
So you could include that language
Yeah.
directed
Yeah.
with respect to load forecasting.
Okay, let's
Load
vote.
forecasting and the thermostat program.
So then let's,
So take on all of them.
yeah, directed several areas for improved cooperation. Okay,
Right, including, and then the board request.
Yeah, but the directives were to PEPCO. We don't have any authority to direct the SCU what to do. But yeah, that would.
Should we actually put directed PEPCO? Like,
Yeah, directed PEPCO to work with the SCU to become a more engaged partner with the SCU. We held directed a technical conference on load forecasting. Again, was directed to PEPCO to participate in the load forecasting, including how PEPCO could work better with the SCU on load forecasting.
to become a more
And then
engaged
PEPCO
partner.
reached out to us
Yeah.
to get,
Yeah,
have
that's
certain
the follow-up,
conversations
yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so PEPCO followed up.
so right
Become a
there.
more engaged partner
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
DCSCU.
And Ted is saying, that PEPCO did follow through with those directives. The technical conference was held,
Particularly with regard to load forecasting.
load forecasting, yes. And they have filed a report on the load control program that I don't recall saying it worked well on Thursday. The Thursday program.
That's correct.
That's
And the other area where we could not be of assistance was in the rate design process.
Yeah.
We just can't do that.
Okay,
Consider yourselves lucky, yeah.
are you all comfortable with the second sentence? The board requests that PEPCO and the DCSCU inform it as to the status of these paragraphs implementation, the outcomes if any, and whether there were any lessons to be learned that would be informative should B22904 become enacted.
What the bill have to do?
Because it's discussing enhanced coordination between PEPCO and
Yeah.
SEU on certain
Then I would say
programs.
that.
So, I mean, that's,
Or I would, Wesley, I mean, phrase this right. The bill is still changing, who knows, but there will be cooperation.
24 hours from now.
Yeah, but I think it's a bigger question, not whether should the bill become enacted, but should there for future, cooperation in many forms, because the commission has many times in the last 3 or 4 years asked for better coordination with the SCU.
so
Not
how
just
about whether there were any lessons to be learned
that could be informative for
generally,
generally, yeah, for future.
and with
For
regard,
ongoing cooperation in many areas, something like that.
and if, and specifically if B22904.
I don't think we need to say that.
I mean, this
Chairman
is
King,
this is
is
an
it
FY
fair to say that the order
fiscal
was
17.
written, but, yeah,
One,
this is
one
17, the order was
clarification that I
written
wanted to make
completely
certain is
not
that
in
when
consideration
Chairman
of-
King
Hang on.
was, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ted.
The order was written 2 years before this law was even drafted. So I think that the order was written in with no consideration whatsoever of, Bill 22904. And to therefore to commingle the two in this paragraph becomes
Well, but the
a
idea
little
is,
bit of a mischaracterization.
there were 2 years per the order for this enhanced
Yeah. year.
Collaboration and
So you're
collaboration.
saying, what you're trying to learn is if there were any lessons learned that would be helpful for the future of energy efficiency programming.
Yeah, and cooperation.
And collaboration
Yeah,
between
yeah,
that's
take out-
utilities and.
Yeah,
Fine,
that's,
take out-
take
yeah.
that out. That's the
Okay.
point, avoiding duplication. You'll find that throughout.
I wanted to
Take
go
out the
backwards to what
gas
Chairman
order.
Kane was
Yeah.
stating earlier when she was delineating the actions that did take place. Are we capturing that in this particular section because of the fact that those things have occurred?
They have occurred, that's right.
Yes.
The intent was to get them in, but that might not have been drafted yet.
The status of the paragraph of implementation.
I mean, I guess I don't necessarily view that as being the pivotal issue for the board. The pivotal issue, I think, for the board is let's get more regular briefings as a board.
Right.
Because, you know, all the volunteers don't necessarily go to all the hearings or participate in the rate cases on the things that are relevant to the SEU and learn
Yeah.
what came out of that.
Right.
Yeah, good distinction.
Helpful,
Because
potentially
there,
helpful exercise.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, because there were other orders too in the order that, again, that would have been fiscal 2018 in the gas case, the order of the gas merger. There's language that talked about the programs, the low income energy efficiency programs, being sure not to duplicate the SEU, to work with the SEU. It's an ongoing thing, so I think, yes, they have
Right. Okay.
the board to be regularly kept up to date on
Right.
those kinds of things.
So if you could go up, please, to section 2 again. I'm going to take the liberty of suggesting, even though chronologically it's not exactly the case, that we requested.
Yeah.
Going down.
Put it in there.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Oh yeah. DOE reporting on legislative and/or administrative or other developments that were relevant to the DCSE's performance.
Yeah,
And
and
I
put
would-
in reporting from the Public Service Commission.
Right.
Or-
So that's
yeah.
what I meant by.
Put regulatory.
Do you want to put
Regulatory.
regulatory?
Okay.
Yeah.
Regulatory.
Okay.
Yes, that would.
Great.
And other administrative.
All right.
I mean, it
Good
could
team.
be-
Good
Could
work,
be
team.
building
That's
codes.
good. So it
Okay.
becomes not just those particular orders, but an ongoing.
Right, how things inform each other.
Great. And I'm just going to give a time check that we have 1 hour left. So.
Okay, and excuse me, this is Sandra. I have to leave for a short period of time. Adrian is on the line, and she's authorized to speak for us with respect to our section. When you need to vote, she will call me. I'm in the office, but I just have something else that I have to do.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. The next thing I have in green is at the end of section 5. If anybody has anything.
The other thing that
Let's
was
see, this
highlighted
is-
was the emergency furnace replacement program.
Yeah, did anybody
Put a
want to
note
talk
that
about that?
That's an FY19 program.
Oh, take it out.
It's
Take it
not-
out. Go, go, goodbye.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. This was a recommendation in the natural gas
Oh, wait,
section.
I just have a question in section 5.
Okay.
Second paragraph of the verified results, 93% of the savings came from free commercial programs. Custom retail, I think that should say custom retrofit.
Where, okay,
Last
correct me if
in
I'm
the
wrong.
first one. That's on retail.
Custom
Go back there.
retail says.
No. Second line.
Custom, yeah.
You're right there. I think that should say retrofit, and I think custom market opportunity.
Sean, this is your section, so I don't know if you can hear what Patty just said.
I would say opportunity, not opportunity.
I could not. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. Second paragraph of your section, it, beginning with of the verified results, she suggested 93% of the savings came from 3 commercial programs, custom retrofit instead of retail, custom market opportunity, and custom new construction. Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah, it's fine. As long, yeah, sorry, that must have been a wrong transcription there.
Okay, thanks.
And I don't know if you want to say C&I, commercial and institutional.
Yeah, because that's the
On the
case,
first
isn't it?
Yes. Okay, great.
I can see down in the table below there, it does say retail dash custom. So I guess
Yeah,
that's
it's retrofit.
internal jargon. Should that be also retrofit?
That's our largest focus area.
Yeah.
That's what our engineers work on. Retail appliances, retail lighting is large, but
So we do mean retail there.
at the bottom, you do.
Right.
Oh, not
Okay.
that, okay. So that's where
Okay.
the confusion.
So the recommendation at the end of 5 is building a larger pipeline of C&I projects and increasing the participation in residential programs will help the DCSEU reduce the risk of missing future goals. Does the board concur? Comfortable with that? Board members? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, great.
Vicki, I'm sorry to quibble, but if 52%, going back to that table, is in custom retail, I just think it'd be great to have a couple of examples.
Custom retrofit.
Yeah, okay, so we're changing in the table custom retrofit also.
Correct. I should change it.
Up
Custom,
one.
custom retrofit is all of our engineers and account managers working with large commercial buildings to retrofit their equipment.
Yeah, no, I get that. But so I think maybe retail custom, it should be retrofit custom.
I don't.
You mean in the table?
In the table.
Was this Sean, was the table in your section from the EM and what was it from?
Yeah, it was from the EM&B, but I thought I used the right terminology that the EM&B was using. So
I
maybe
think
that
it's internal TMV, so maybe we have to. So maybe a way to kind of solve two birds with one stone, although we're not supposed to violate animal rights here, is footnote that and say custom, examples of custom retrofits are HVAC, high efficiency HVAC appliances, just something to give it a little bit of life. And then you can.
I would say that I was trying to avoid regurgitating the EM&B as we did last year.
Yeah, but just a few.
And having lengthy definitions of each program, you can do that. I just didn't want to just provide all of.
Well, again, I mean, just
stating essentially what EM&B is already stating.
Yeah, I wasn't here last year, so I really defer to the group. But I know we don't have time to put in nice little examples of things. But I just think, again, for if we want council members to read this or to kind of focus on a few things giving it life, it's very abstract. And then when we have different terminology, and it's 52%. So I think it would be nice. I don't know. That's just a suggestion. Take it or leave it. I wasn't here, so.
So, Nina, you wanted us to include, you said put a footnote next to custom retrofit and put examples, include the programs.
Yeah,
just a couple.
Steam travel replacements. Weather control. Yeah.
What's the last one?
Insulation. Insulation. I mean, ideally there'd be a example for each one, but I beg, no problem.
Next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We want to get it in on time this year.
Yeah.
We don't want to ruin anybody's holiday. I personally have nothing further until. Oh, was there any new language, Dr. L, that we should? Okay, and we heard no objection.
Right.
So we're,
I think that we just inserted the two submissions from DCSEU, unless anyone has anything with the regular language. But the green jobs piece and the
well, there's one small thing on page 8.
Page 8, okay.
Where it says verified results on top. On top.
In the table?
Right above the table.
yeah,
Verified results. Yeah, go down.
lower down.
Okay.
Yeah. Electric consumption is 92, and the minimum target was 60. Wasn't it?
Okay.
And the one other thing is the number in the table is actually the unverified number, which is slightly higher, so I don't know if I change it to 92,666.
Dr. Cooper, Hussein is
Right
making a comment in the table of
yeah,
yours.
I'm sorry, which one,
Yeah,
which
in the
number?
in the table, the 93.9
Your
5.8.
first table,
Okay, what is that number that he referenced? It should be?
under FY17 actual for total electricity savings, he says the
Right.
verified number is 92,686.
which is in the sentence right above the table.
Exactly, and this was a table that I had captured that was specific from the DCSCU. So this was what was reported by the DCSCU, and then these were the verified results.
Dr. Cooper, I think the numbers you got were from our FY17 report. And when the report is done per the terms of the contract, the numbers still aren't verified.
Exactly, I'm familiar with that, but I was just sharing that this is what was reported and this is what the actuals are. I mean, I'm not wed to it being there, but that's what was reported in your report
Right.
versus what the verified results by the EM&T.
Right. At that time, I don't think there was an EMB contract on the contract to verify the numbers, so.
Do you want to do what the table said and then do an asterisk?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay.
And
And
then
we'll
ask
say,
them to say that
yeah,
this is
verified
the
results.
as you reported and the actual the
So,
verified is.
so leave it.
Leave it
Yeah,
as is and
yeah.
put an asterisk and then say verified results were.
Well, that's what the sentence above it is.
It does,
saying.
right?
Yeah.
We're just reconciling.
Once
Why the
verification
table
is
says
Yeah.
one thing and the text another. Vicky,
Yes,
go
ma'am.
back
You would
to
need to just note there are a couple other numbers in that table that are still unverified. For example, the low income savings amount was not 29,000, it was actually 28,000. So
I think you need a
you'd
bunch
have
of
to put
asterisks.
that throughout to state clearly that these are just reported numbers. And, I would just question why we're still reporting reported numbers from the SU when we have verified numbers that this report should be based on.
Yeah, that's fine. That could be removed. That's what I was saying. I'm not wed to that. I was just reporting on what the SEU had reported because that's what we get is the annual report based on what they've set forth, and then that information is ultimately analyzed and verified.
So then I guess instead of doing the asterisk, maybe we can just
Update the numbers.
Yeah,
create
update the
yeah.
numbers because
Okay.
the rest of the
Yeah.
report are based on verified numbers.
Okay, let's do that.
Very good point.
Did the chairman,
Yeah.
chairwoman, chairperson, have
Whatever.
a comment?
Just want to go back to the solar part. On mine it's page 7, but it may be where electricity consumption, the second paragraph there.
Yes.
Okay. Where it says the DCSU continues to focus its attention on increasing access to solar energy for all. And then the third sentence, there's been a significant increase in solar installations in the district, okay, which has resulted in a decrease in energy usage. Well, it doesn't actually decrease energy usage because people are still using energy. It is a decrease in
Demand
either
from the grid.
Energy sales.
Exactly. As
energy
relates to
sales or imported
Transmission,
energy
transmitted.
or, imported energy. Yeah. It's not energy usage,
It's
it's
not
not using
efficient.
more.
Yeah.
If you've got solar, you might actually use more, but imported energy, yeah.
Is imported energy a
Yeah.
term of, that everybody knows?
the load requirement.
Yeah, or, or a delivered load or something,
Should we use something maybe more people can understand?
yeah. Or it's sales too, but we're not trying to reduce sales.
Imported into the
Why do you
district?
say, energy supplied from outside the district?
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, in but
Nice.
electricity, it's not, it's energy, okay. And then,
And electricity.
okay, and then it says, next sentence, increase in solar installations by 17 megawatts. Wouldn't we say during fiscal 2017 instead of between 16 and 17? Because this is the fiscal FY 2017 report, right? So it was actually 16.3. And but yeah, during during
Megawatts.
16.3.
it's 16.3
Oh, sorry.
megawatts, yeah.
That's more like 16.
0.3,
In
and it's
FY17.
it's increase in solar installation it's certified solar installation
PV.
too. It's, well, no, it's, the only numbers we have, those numbers are those that have come to the commission to be certified, so, but there's a small percentage, it's probably 5 or 10% that doesn't get certified, or there's a lag.
So in
But-
FY 20.
But the, yeah, during or just during fiscal 2017 period. The problem I have is that this implies that that's all result of the SCU. and the point is that, let me finish. In terms of the number of facilities certified by the commission, there were 803 certified during fiscal 2017. But the number that in the SCU's annual report was what, 12, 10, somewhere?
Much closer to that.
Yeah, I can't remember, I don't have the report,
In
but.
prior
so-
years, you would have seen, you know.
Yeah, but during,
150 or
but so,
something.
I think this
17,
seems, yeah, that 16 megawatts, I think SCU was one megawatt,
So we need to talk about
A
what
little under
SCU.
a little under 2. In other words, this is misleading because.
Okay, so how about
I
the
would
district?
say an increase in solar, I'd say district I would say installed solar capacity in the district increased by 16.3 megawatts in FY 2017, of which X megawatts was the result of SCU supported projects.
Chairman Kane, I wanted to ask,
SCU contract.
should we be saying fiscal year and not calendar year 2017?
The numbers I was giving, we do it every month, so you can figure it out. The numbers I did, 16.3 is fiscal year.
Okay, so you went
That's from
from,
October 1st, 2016, there were 2497. October 1st, 2017, there were 3,200. So that's where the increase of 803 facilities, and the 16.3 megawatts. I think the other point is, which is important in the SCU, is that although maybe only about a dozen of those 800 were SCU projects, they were bigger. And the SCU, if you look at the size of them. So, and so it would, if you just say 803 and 12 were the SCU, you think, my God.
Right.
Yeah. But if you say 16 megawatts
I don't think we
and
need to. I don't think we need to.
a little under 2 were SCU, and because they were focusing on the larger one. And it might be worth saying that the SCU focused on, you know, the larger projects, because that's where you really need, where you
Right,
really
so-
need the assistance. I think that's a good, because first when I looked at the numbers, I thought, 803 and 12.
That's very helpful. How about in the first sentence, continues to focus its attention on increasing access to solar energy for all, in particular, by focusing on larger projects?
Yes, yes,
That's
yeah.
the
Those
value
numbers.
added.
That's the value added, because, you know, the
Yeah.
average homeowner putting it up, yeah, that's not where the SCU is focusing, but those bigger projects where you get almost 2 about 1.5 megawatts from 10 projects. The average little one is like 2 to 3 kilowatts, and these are big, they're much bigger.
Big
Can I
heat,
just add, yes, for these, WGL Energy, there are significant bigger projects that are in that. I've done a lot of them, but, but I do appreciate your adding and clarifying
Yeah.
that was not all SCU.
Yeah.
And it might be helpful to break down the, if you can, the 16 point whatever,
Yeah.
the larger and smaller. And
The SCU
because you
annual
might
report
find,
lists the projects.
I think that would be helpful to put in the footnote.
No.
Is there a list like that available somewhere easily?
Pardon me?
We sorted by size.
I believe either the SEU or the commission has that
Yeah.
list of the size of the project.
We have categories, yeah, by the size.
Could somebody provide that so that we could either footnote the
Mhm.
link or import it into a footnote, the content? Thank you.
would it be worth distinguishing between the solar PV that's installed by the DCSU under the 5-year contract versus the Solar for All program? Just wondering.
Solar for All, DCSC didn't do any Solar for All in 2017.
That's the point. They didn't do solar
Okay,
for
so
all.
that would
But
be
they
applicable.
did, but the projects that the SCU did do in 2017 were larger projects. There were only about a dozen of them, but they were larger, much larger.
So FY18, that would be when,
It's actually 19.
19, is that the, okay, in small year. And do we need to say solar PV before thermal?
There's so little solar there, and it gets all lumped together.
Okay.
For REX purposes and everything else. Although solar, thermal is probably solar.
That's why I brought it up. Looking at Louise here.
It's, I don't think.
Okay. Thank you.
Did SCU do any
Yeah,
solar?
what's
Did you guys do any solar thermal?
So you guys put in the new verified numbers in the
Yeah.
green job section.
Yes.
Does anybody need to look at any of that now?
We replaced the paragraph that's now.
Okay, and for those of you on the phone for whom Dr. Lawrence has just spoken, Nicole Group had language in the green job section that needed to be updated, and it has been. I think it's a pretty straightforward reporting of facts, but we can read it aloud if you all would like. DCSEU worked with 3 teaming partners and 13 implementation contractors and 2 workforce development organizations to meet the green jobs benchmarks. The teaming partners contributed 6,803.6 DC green job hours covering the functional categories of public affairs engineering and market transformation for 31 DC residents in green job positions. The implementation contractors contributed 11,679.5 DC green job hours covering the functional. Maybe this isn't the best use of time. But
Yes, but it's just updating the previous paragraph from last year,
Yeah.
just plugging in the new numbers. So the structure has been approved by the board already, it's just updating it for the numbers.
Okay. So, I mean, we'll send around a confirmation copy of everything, but I'm gonna assume we're gonna get a vote, and then it'll only be let us know if you object, which we did have last year. So let's just keep going.
The PJ represents question.
Yeah, that was just
What page number are we on?
17.
Okay, I'm back on 10. Sorry, guys, but this is to pick up on Chairwoman Kane's comment. It carries over also under Electricity Sales District of Columbia. I just want to make sure that we're not conflating, again, energy savings and usage. I think it's okay, but the second sentence, the increased energy consumption that would correspond with population and growth development is offset by gains. And it says increased installation of photovoltaic arrays. And I just want to make sure that, again, we're not conflating, sales and consumption. And then
Energy efficiency.
I'm sorry, Nina, you were saying you were conflating what?
I want to make sure we're not conflating sales and consumption in the claim. Do you see where we are here?
No, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think you should.
It's a very important and really good news thing, but I mean,
Right.
really one of the best pieces of news in the whole report. But we've got to make sure when we say attribute increased
Installation of photovoltaic
That
arrays,
shouldn't be there.
should probably come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all the other things, energy efficiency, conservation, federal code,
So
housing types.
basically, we had that, including naturally occurring impact of increased load and federal agency codes and
Right.
standards, residential housing types,
Right.
an increased number of individuals per home as opposed to people, and that the net result ultimately have resulted in this lesser consumption of energy.
Right.
So if you pull
So
the,
it's not in a vacuum.
Right. So if you take out the increased installation of photovoltaic arrays.
did you get that?
I got it,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay, so we take that, and then the net results have, yeah, okay, good. That takes care of that other sentence.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
The question here, the PJ number has 395 in the annual report. I told it it's actually 40. So, this is your question. What was the verified figure for PJM? The annual report said 240.
What was their verification? Because I guess I had a different number somewhere.
Wasn't it 144?
In
17?
FY17.
Yes. This is FY17.
Right, but when I pulled the
Does the SBU know?
What's the question?
The question is, under section 10, there seem to be a couple of numbers floating around of revenue from PJM. And one may have been unverified, one may have been verified, but what is the correct number?
Leveraging external funds?
Yes, please.
Second paragraph.
Was it $240,000?
Yeah. Wasn't it 144 in 17?
Yeah, 17.
Was 144 was put on the contract, but the total amount received,
For
some of it
FY.
had to be paid to the, to incentive,
No, yeah.
to the contractor that put the bid in for us. That's why we're
Net
probably.
like 139. Is that net or? 139, yes. So 240 is not correct. 144 minus expenses that come out. So like 139.
Securing, and you'll say in net revenue, right?
139.
And Vicki, I have a section 9 thing.
Okay.
When it's time. Is it time?
Yes, I believe so.
Under green jobs, I think there's some, I've heard confusion about this external to this room. And I just want to clarify to make sure I understand. When we say we're increasing the number of green collar jobs, and I know this is baked right into the original contract, et cetera, but it's what we are saying, and I'm not suggesting necessarily change in language, is that what increase the number of green collar jobs means in terms of the contract is jobs that would not exist, green collar jobs that would not exist if the SEU weren't operational. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not an increase every year of 88 equivalent FTEs. It's every year the number of jobs that exist because the SEU is functioning.
Yeah, no distinction is
There's
made
no
between
additive
retained-
element or.
Well, it's additive of 88 every year. So if the FCU went away, those 88 jobs would go away.
Right.
So it's
Right.
it's retained and
it could be the same 88 every
Yeah.
year. Right. Okay. I just wanted to.
Right, I mean, I count as one green job every year, just as.
Yes,
Same
exactly.
mark
Yeah,
as a
I
green
thought
job
that's what it was, but
generally.
I know there's some confusion
It's just not
externally.
new.
Yeah. So I think
This is the annual benchmark.
yes, there you go. So it's annual. Maybe we should say an annual performance benchmark.
Which page are you?
This is page
Right at the
14.
beginning?
The DCSU's contract includes an annual performance benchmark target.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's
So is it ensure the creation? Because it's not creating. It's
yeah.
well, creation or retention.
I think we need to say create.
Some support our retain, some
creation or retention.
Yeah, that actually creation is the source of a lot of the confusion. So
Okay.
creation or
Creation is the source of a lot of confusion.
What about creation? How about ensure that
It's almost Christmas.
Actually, Vicki,
Yes.
just to get out of the creation issue,
Pardon?
as it were,
How about to ensure the support of at least 88 full-time jobs?
That's better.
Sure.
Fewer words and better. Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. Okay. I think we're in 13. Section 13, unless anybody had anything before that.
Okay. Vicki, we have a number to go back to the one with the megawatt hours.
I'm sorry.
The megawatts on the solar thing of the 16.3, 2.44 were attributable to the SCU.
Okay, great.
Pretty good because it's only 12 projects out of 800.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it really shows that
I would love to see little journalistic pullouts, quotes. That would be one. The one where, development of DC, but reduction of usage, that kind of thing would be nice. But maybe not going to be a graphics. Yeah, just to make it, to help people read it. Because we really do. There's a lot of really nice, good news in here, and then to be.
Well, one thing that we talked about was making this like a one-pager that could be distributed to the public. So maybe that's something that we should
those
take
kinds
up.
of graphs that would show population up, consumption down, and sales down.
Like a real
and the 12 megawatt
average,
one
average solar
pager
project,
news release.
one
How many
SCU project.
I mean, from the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I've got something on in section 12. If we're ready.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what everybody's
You too.
There's a whole
I'm sure we're all.
There's a whole
working in the same
subtext going on here.
direction.
Amendments to the legislation are going on at this table as we
Ah.
speak by all parties concerned. It's very funny. Okay, so page 19 of that, what we circulated yesterday or whenever it was, section 12. I was a little confused at the top paragraph. However, with the shift, I guess it's still the first paragraph of section 12. With the last sentence, however, with the shift from 1-year contracts to 5-year contract beginning in, the DCSCU is now able to better assist this group who is a national list. Who's the group? Did I miss it?
The largest energy users.
I'm missing who. Can we just say who the group is? Thank you. And maybe it's that or which, not who, but that's.
Whether it grammatically
Okay. 13. Which?
Okay. Users, which?
Yes.
18 or section 13 now?
Section 13.
Innovation.
Yeah. This was the board recommending vigorous use of this tool, which is from the prior paragraph about strategic planning. For example, to determine how it will influence the requirements of the Omnibus Act should they become law, including its potential new building performance standards and ramped up RPS requirements.
Can we say vigorous use of the strategic plan?
Yes. Of the strategic planning tool. The strategic plan. Instead of this tool, say the strategic plan. And this first line, instead of this tool, say the strategic plan. Okay.
How the plan will implement.
Okay. All right. Style cost test. Bunch of recommendations in here. Are folks all comfortable with recommending consideration of all of these?
And it's recognizing that fitting them into the performance the performance requirements. Sometimes it might be a little bit of a leap, but anyway, take a step.
you want to stick some of these things as an amendment to the bill, do that.
Is, I'm looking at C.
Yeah, the air quality.
It's your report, I mean,
It does seem to me that getting into the whole air quality stuff is just difficult, and it's a whole different area.
It's the emissions.
I mean, it's the emissions and yes, yeah, and
trains.
Well, I think the
and,
general
I mean,
idea.
it's a great thing to do, to be concerned about air quality, but
We don't
I
do studies
don't.
like that. It's not.
The SEU isn't set up to do that, the board isn't set up to do that, we don't have representatives on the board with that expertise, there's a whole air quality division of DOEE. We don't have any generation, for energy. I mean, you'd really have to get into transportation to do that.
I guess
And
that's
buses and diesel and trucks, and is that really what we're recommending that the SEU start doing?
Explore.
Is it, well, I mean,
But there are
again,
diesel generators that do.
there are diesel generators,
And
and they could be traded out for natural gas generators, which are less, I mean, that would be one way to start. If you were concerned about air quality, would be to have a program to identify the diesel generators and swap them out for natural gas ones, which immediately reduces the pollution.
Right.
Not that, natural gas isn't totally clean, but
again,
it's that.
But that would vote against our goals.
Yes.
If we did something like that.
But that's the
Because
issue.
Our
That's
goals
the,
is set right now.
Yes, I know, I'm not talking about the SEU doing it, I'm talking
Yeah.
about the district doing it,
Oh,
and
okay.
DOEE doing it, because it would increase gas consumption.
Yeah.
And since we don't measure now, if you switch from diesel to natural gas to run a generator, you would be increasing the use of gas, which
Right.
is against what the SEU is supposed to be doing, which is reducing the use of natural gas, even though you would be cleaning the air and reducing the use of dirty fuel.
Let me give an
As
example.
much, I just think it's so, the societal cost, non-energy societal benefits for the programs, it's C, I just think that's getting into something that would really take legislation to add to the responsibilities of the SEU.
so I was just gonna say, just maybe more generically, I think an issue that has been coming up for several conversations or years has been, is there a way to, we're talking about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, or there are also ways to target measures that could improve
There
health.
Yes,
There are.
right,
But
but
let me
societal
just-
costs, and I think B gets
But
to
new
it.
new technology is coming into the fore. I'm not suggesting. I think we need to look into this, whether it's spending a lot of time or having somebody come and present on it who really knows how this could be done. Like if you have at a depot or a construction site trucks that have to keep their diesel motors running because to operate equipment as well as to withstand the extreme heat or cold. There are now, let's say there are solar-powered battery units that you can plug into that allow all those functions to take place with no emissions.
Mm-hmm.
New technology is coming on board, and some requirements in some states are creating a market for those. So I think we need to have this. It might seem like an implausible reach right now, but I think we need to get it into our thinking and be aware that there are maybe some very cool technologies, including onboard motor switches and so on, that in depot areas and construction sites, the big huge construction sites that go on for years, as well as bus depots and so on, loading docks.
I think it gets to basic dichotomy, basic. It's our district's policy to reduce greenhouse gases, or is it to reduce energy? Because they measure things totally, you do things differently. and you measure things differently if you're trying to reduce greenhouse gas. And the measurement that the district's been using has been energy efficient, reducing consumption, and renewable energy, or clean energy. Renewable energy. Renewable energy isn't the same as clean energy. Because if you want clean energy, you'd be doing a lot of nuclear. That's a different issue. But, so what is, and it's not the SEU's problem, or this board's problem, it's a policy problem.
Well, it is a
and
recommendation the board is making
It
though,
is,
about
it is a
aligning.
recommendation, and if we're making the recommendation, I think the recommendation, my view, to look at the societal benefits in evaluation is a very good recommendation. Public health, comfort, safety, those things. How you just exploring how you measure those things. And but the bigger issue, which you see in the plan too, of a shift, is the district going to be shifting overall from focusing on renewable energy to measure and reducing and achieving that and energy efficiency and reducing consumption versus focusing on greenhouse gas emission reduction.
Well, I think there are two kinds of, there's the emissions that go into the atmosphere, the greenhouse gas emissions, and then there's the pollution at the ground level, which causes asthma rates to soar. And, I mean, both do eventually, but, so I would definitely put in, maybe also to go more towards the generic terms, looking into new technologies that enable these things to be addressed by the SU. For instance, I mean, if there's certain categories of generators that could be replaced by solar plus storage, and not natural gas, then we know that certain facilities need a ramp up that preclude that now, but there might be a whole category of facilities in our reach that actually could take that now. So I think we're in a position where we can start demystifying this realm and getting it into our thinking vocabulary. So,
is this one that rather than all of these recommendations here are laid clearly on the staff of the Sustainable Energy Utility? Might this one be one where we could not bear the entire load, but partner with some other stakeholders here in the city so that they can bring their thinking to the table as well?
And I've spoken to some of the agencies. Go ahead.
I just want to add that the tests that we use right now, the societal cost test, does include both A and B and C, the items that are measured there. If you look in the EM&V report, it spells out all of the non-energy benefits that we capture along with the air quality and the noise and the productivity. All those things are captured in the test. What we use in the test is an adder, which is a basic number you assign for those benefits, because we put these under the difficult to quantify bucket. To do studies to accurately measure what the value is for the reduction in asthma rate or the reduction in air qualities, to have a numeric number, it would be very expensive and very hard to do.
I get it. I'm gonna just, you guys, because we only have 15 minutes left, but you gotta get the report.
Other agencies are referenced here, and other agencies in the city have specific goals to address some of these things.
Hang on a sec, you guys. So, we've been having this discussion for 2 years, 3 years, and we haven't ever achieved agreement on it. So we're not going to achieve it today. So I think the issue is the board is saying, we would like you to consider, instead of formula or the way that the societal cost test does it now, more impact that is district specific or neighborhood specific about potential health improvements that could be part of the investments that the DCSEU is making. And we may not have hit the language.
Working with other agencies.
And working with other agencies, partnering with whomever else.
And you just add that up
in the top, yeah. So
the board recommends the DCO staff working with other agencies.
Yeah. And or other partners.
Other partners.
Yeah.
That would make sense. I would just remind the group that those of us served on this a long time ago. This has been the fundamental thing. We started out looking at the contract and we wanted it. It didn't move that way. Right. At least some of us wanted it this way. So it's interesting. It's still an issue.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that perspective. Right, that's why I was just saying we're not gonna resolve it today. But this is, everybody good with that? Okay.
Vicky, you're saying remove parts, recommendations A through E and replacing that? Was that
No,
161?
it's putting the lead language instead to say the board recommends the DCU staff working with other partners consider pursuit of actions that include, and then leaving them all intact.
Okay, I would kind of just support what Lance was saying. Maybe at least the section B there.
Yeah.
That's already being addressed by the DCFU already screens all their programs using the societal test, which is based off of the California societal test.
Who is talking?
So to say to evaluate it, they're already using it. That's their primary test. They don't use the other tests.
Sorry.
So when it says evaluated, it implies that it's not being used and that we're suggesting it should be used. To go back to B.
E.
And what Lance was saying is
B
that
or E?
B.
B. That it's already being used.
Yes.
So we don't need to evaluate.
Well,
but maybe evaluate. I'm not sure who made the recommendation, but do you think, since we're already using the societal cost effective test, it's now an add-on?
How about evaluate the additional
I actually made the
Increase-
recommendation, and I did a fair amount of research. There are many societal tests.
Okay.
We're
Additional.
using a formulaic one that's not granular,
Okay.
and things have gone beyond that nationally. So I think it's time to not
update
putting
it.
down what we've done
Okay.
at all, but just to look at ways we can get at this in a more granular fashion.
So Sean, we're now saying in B, evaluate additional societal cost effectiveness tests.
I would say, I've
Update.
been doing this for a few years. If there is essentially one societal, it's called the California test, and there are different adders,
That's
non-entity adders in that test, which differ by jurisdiction.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
And the jurisdictions usually approve it, usually through, the Public Service Commission, which adders are approved by jurisdiction.
So how about,
So maybe we're talking about reviewing the parameters or the factors in the societal benefits tests that are being used to consider all these other things. That's really what you're saying?
That's okay. That captures it.
And this is Donna, just one clarification as well. When we talked about the collaboration and partnership with other instrumentalities, departments, as well as stakeholders, that A requires or requests a report back on the means of integrating clean energy and other steps that the DCSEU needs to take, and evaluation of pilot programs is E. So are we really indicating that there should be the evaluation of these things in partnership with these entities? Because if they're working with other stakeholders, it may take time to report back, as well as it's not an isolated action in a silo. So being considerate of that as it relates to the language.
Absolutely. We need to be practical. We want what we want.
does that mean any change or are we good?
What I was indicating, the first one says it should report back on the means of integrating, and it gives other specifications there, when in fact what we're talking about is that the DCSEU should ultimately work in collaboration or partnership with stakeholders on, I'm assuming, evaluating these particular opportunities as it relates to whether or not new programs need to be created, how to integrate clean, low carbon, because you're saying they should report back, but that's in collaboration with those respective entities that they will have to work with in order to present that. They're not doing it in isolation because they can't do it in isolation.
Yeah, well, that's why the whole introductory part was changed to say that the SEU in collaboration with, and the report back wouldn't necessarily, it would be the SEU charged with reporting back whether they wanted to bring the other entities to the table. That's, we don't have to get into that level of detail.
And that's where that wouldn't coincide ultimately with the entry statement that you just made, and I'm just saying that it needs to be consistent because you're actually changing the order in the action, so that A should be consistent with that.
I'm a little lost on it,
I
sorry.
think, wait a minute,
It's the pre-lunch sugar load.
What I'm trying to clarify, and it's not a deep dive, is that just ensuring that the statement that we do put in regarding the collaboration with the SCU board, with the other departments, agencies, instrumentalities, and other stakeholders, that what they're doing is that I'm assuming they're evaluating and reporting back on means of integrating clean, low carbon, looking at other pilot projects, et cetera. Some saying that the first one did not take that into consideration, A, so it just said that the DCSEU should be reporting back to us on the means of integrating these things. I'm just saying reconciling that entry statement that now broadens who is engaged, is involved, as well as what we're looking for as it relates to a report back from the DCSEU.
I think that the fix is to take out the verbs, because it's now the board recommends that SEU staff and other partners consider pursuit of actions such as the following. The means of integrating. The means of integrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
The parameters.
And adders and societal cost effectiveness.
Yep. Those modify the first.
Because consider is the verb.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Take out
Yeah,
identify.
that makes a lot of sense.
New technologies. Yeah, there we go. Right. And then.
And if they want to report back, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Ted provided stats on outreach. And okay. And then this is the going forward. We have 9 minutes. 9 minutes.
I have a very quick one, I think.
Okay.
The last sentence, however, the DCSU is not able to track whether these reductions are also achieving reductions. We are very capable of tracking, and we report that. It's a simple, calculation, taking your kilowatt hours and converting it to greenhouse gas emissions. So I would say the DCSU is not required to. It's not what our.
It's not currently required to, but you're capable of doing it.
If we're capable of doing it, and we do put it in our annual report.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, not required to. Right, great. Thank you.
But it does report.
You need it not.
We do report.
And it is good to put that you do report.
Well, then the DCU reports these reductions, or even though it's not required.
Yeah.
Now accountable for.
Yeah, it's not one of our performance.
Right. So is it not accountable for?
Yeah, as opposed to not required.
Performance measure.
Not rewarded for.
Goes beyond
Whether
its.
not rewarded for.
Right.
Whether these reductions.
Required to track and not accountable. It's not required to track, that's true. Also not awarded for achieving it.
Right.
It goes beyond its
the
obligation.
DESU is not rewarded for achieving reduction, but it does track and report them.
I just on a personal level, I'm uncomfortable with that statement because the reductions in electricity that contribute to reductions in greenhouse gases, they are rewarded for that.
That's
So
true.
to say they're not rewarded for
That's true.
greenhouse
You're right.
reductions,
That's true.
We might just say then that the DCSEU tracks and reports these in their annually tracks and reports these, although it's not a specific benchmark. It's not currently a specific benchmark.
I would say performance benchmark.
But they're separate.
Is that okay, Lance?
Yes.
Yeah, take it out again. Not rewarded. Not specifically rewarded for achieving reductions in greenhouse gas emissions.
Or separately.
Yeah, separately is good.
Because
separately
it is
better.
included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right, anything else?
It did, it was very.
We need to bring in the shop. Not green.
Anyone else? Anything else? A lot of green.
Service.
Anyone else?
You benefit by it.
Yeah, I benefit by being here lunch. All right, are we done?
Okay.
Woo-hoo! Can the Madam People's Council please return? So we can vote on this report and get it out on time. Woo-hoo!
Okay, I will grab her. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Vicki, I think we have a tribute.
Yes. Yes.
Vicki, before I grab Sandra, I know she had questions about the language that PEPCO had proposed, i.e. Donna. Are we going to be able to see that language, or do we have a write-up of that language?
Yes. Which, I'm sorry.
So she's asking about the additional language that Donna is going to note in the PEPCO section. And what we did last year was, once you sent it out, you still could comment before the final
We're not
draft.
accepting that, right, a priori.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure.
Yes. Thank
okay.
you. Yeah.
Great.
But we will seek a vote, and then if there's another edit or so, everybody should send all edits to everybody, and then everyone should say whether or not that means their vote has changed, which is what happened last year. So we kept going, even though we didn't want to.
When is this report due?
Okay,
End of the
so
year.
do we, well, we're waiting for a couple of returns of folks. I know I had a couple of edits on the minutes. Should we hunt that to the next meeting, or should I just send them around and people can look at them, or what should we do?
Yeah, I think you can email it around and maybe we can.
Okay, or we'll worry about it next meeting. Okay, great. And we're awaiting the return of a voting member on the report, which the board is going to be finished on time this year. Yay! Yay, board!
Great job.
Yay, board!
Very graciously done.
But we also wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to, I'm gonna get creepy, to thank the chair.
Yeah, Sandra.
Oh, I'm sorry, what? Okay, great. All right then. We have 4 minutes to go. So let's all decide now whether or not we are okay, and the board is going to vote to approve this behemoth of a report. It's not a behemoth, it's much trimmer than last year. I think it's actually, I think it's a lot better, and I think good work everybody, and it was a lot less, it was a lot more helpful and productive, constructive, good spirit. Thank you everybody very much for it. So the plan is going to be, we'll tidy up all these edits, we'll circulate it again, we're going to take a vote now. There is still language that Dr. Cooper is going to provide for a PEPCO section that everyone's going to feel comfortable with, but we're going to assume that the vote is sticking unless everybody has changes they circulate to everybody.
Vicki, I'm sorry, I was out for a second, well, not a second, but now, and I understand the process is that we're going to approve the report subject to edits, but I'm a little concerned. How are we going to approve the edits? And suppose some of the parties don't agree with the proposed edits, how is that going to be reconciled if we approve it now? Doesn't it make more sense, and isn't it more efficient to approve the edits? A one-time approval, the final document, as opposed to some, an iteration that may change a little.
So I think it's just one edit that was that has not yet been drafted, that was in the PEPCO energy discussion.
Right.
I guess the nervousness is if we're going to be able to all find a time on the phone. Yeah, to be able to get everything done. So I think my hope is that the language will be able to figure it out with that one section.
Yeah.
And if people have a problem with it, they should email, what their suggested edit are, and then we can play by ear if we need to try to cobble together.
So we would be approving it subject to review of that one particular provision or section or language or sentences, whatever it is.
Yeah.
No other edits.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we should have a timeline for the submission of that edit.
Dr.
I
Cooper?
I can get it to you no later than tomorrow, and I just wanted to engage Dr. Long as well, based on the information he provided, and having a representative that has been running the analysis here have an opportunity to speak to reconcile to ensure that we're understanding it the same way.
Okay, well, tomorrow's Tuesday, so that works, right?
Yes.
And then I'll just ask everybody's indulgence that if we do need to get on the phone, you know, it'll be a 5-minute call, but we do it.
What if
Okay, I reserve my right to object.
Okay.
Although I'm sure I won't have to.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
I'm sorry, let me just add, is that assuming that NMR is going to be available for such a conversation? What if they aren't? Realistically.
I thought that you indicated that you have information on the methodology that was employed, which was consistent with ACEEE, and that was the methodology that was employed looking at and assuming the aggregate spend. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, repeat the question, please. You said the aggregate spend.
I was just indicating that earlier you stated that the methodology that was employed was consistent with ACEEE. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a pretty commonly used measure to determine the cost of energy saved. And again, you're saying.
Exactly. I don't necessarily need to talk with them. I just need to talk with Lance, and Lance is verifying that it's based on that methodology. So we'll just discuss that.
Okay. So it's not subject to your talking to NMR directly. Good.
Not at this time, it's not. No.
Okay, everyone is reserving everything, which is always the way. Okay, but what we don't need to reserve on is to give incredibly voluminous thanks to Chairwoman, Chairman, Chairperson, Chair Kane, obviously for her contributions to the board, which have been gigantic, but generally for the people of the District of Columbia, for the Public Service Commission.
Well, let me add to that before we apply. Let me say that Betty Ann Kane has really been the model, exemplar of citizen leadership in our city, back from when school board to at-large city council and our retirement board for the firefighters, and certainly our public service commission, that she has become a leader in each thing that she's done. The amount of pride that I know that Teresa and others that we feel when we are at meetings where NARUC is there, and Betty Ann has become a leader among our region as well. And these are folks in some complicated subject matters, and each time Betty Ann has shown the ability to master it and lead. Betty Ann, we are not, we always could not be any more prouder of you, but also the model of leadership that you provide for all of us, and your very firm, smart, but graceful way of interacting with our board and seeing that we do the right thing here has been greatly appreciated. But we just really have been honored to serve you. Thank you.
Sorry? Minute. Yes.
It'll be reflected in the minutes.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I mean, it's been a pleasure. 44 years in government.
Wow.
3 years of which I was not actually with the CCM, but then 44 years ago last month.
Wow.
I was sworn into the school board.
Wow.
And I'm looking forward to retiring, but I'm not going to actually disappear, so I'll be around. I spend a little more time in Maine. As many of you know, part of my decision to ask the mayor not to reappoint me to the reappointment commission was my husband hasn't been well, and I am looking forward to being able to spend some more time with him at home. But I'm going to. These energy issues, keeps you young, doesn't it? They change. They're so exciting and challenging. So I'm sure we'll be involved. So thank you all.
Thank
for
you.
the board, just to see how this board has grown and how the SAU has grown.
You're a rock star, you know.
Nationally,
In this,
globally.
in this
Yeah.
sector.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And William Phillips, who
Thank
has
you.
been nominated to be the chairman, will be taking my place here, and he'll be probably represented at most of the meetings by Carrie Hinton, who many of you know, who has been my policy advisor and who's going to stay on as policy advisor and do the intergovernmental work instead of for Chairman Phillips. The council voting on his nomination tomorrow, as well as Greer Gillis.
That's tomorrow too.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you again. Anybody have anything else for?
Have to vote on the report.
Are we gonna vote? Yes.
I move.
I'm waiting for you to report.
Subject to review of that one paragraph, that, Dr. Cooper's worked on. Yes.
Did you make a motion?
I did.
Oh, I second.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any-
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Hearing none. Approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Do you have my schedule?
Start working on the FY18 report next week.
Yes, actually.
Oh, okay.
Vivian, we'll catch up.
Make sure that's off there.
Good to see you.
You too.
Just on the agenda items, the next one.
Okay.
We can see.
Okay. So I will have a breath of air by Wednesday. After
Let me try to
tomorrow,
today.
she's out of the office.
She's out.
Yeah.
I know. Some say we have to.
Yeah, naturally,
January.
Have you read the
It's only a
ordinance?
month from
I
now.
haven't.
That's
We're gonna be-
You know, I really don't.
Inviting comments?
Okay, Fran's team, I'm not a part of Fran's team, so.
I can change that.
Where in Maine are you?
January is Rachel.
Is the gas related?
Oh.
Federal and Caldwell.
Okay, I know
Oh,
Seth.
so on
Set, yeah, Set is his name.
Oh, Seth, yeah. I always call- I
Call
love his
Set
name.
till it's Fran's now.
Okay.
Next door.